recording. I just turned my recording on so you can watch this and be able to learn. I got this news article from a website called Good News Network. And I like this because it doesn't give you all the crazy stuff, and we might have a visitor at the door. Hey guys, who is it? Carter? Okay, not sure what's going on. All right, so I'm gonna turn on Read and Write. It's this purple puzzle piece. Yeah, buddy, you're here? Okay, 1 second, guys. Hi, Carter. All right, so Carter, my 3-year-old, is now in here for the first time in months when he's joined one of these sessions. He's fully clothed, so I'm very pleased about that. All right, so here is Carter. We're using this tool called Read and Write for Google, and it brings up this toolbar for my article. And I want to show you what it can do. So I'm going to use this play button. And then once I hit play, I can click play.
Small. From Argentina to the Ukraine, the results were as cute and baffling as you might expect.
All right, so with this, it's an article about what's in our kids' pockets, an adorable look at children, what children around the world carry as treasure. As a dad to 2 boys, this made me very nervous, but I thought it would be endearing as well. As we hit play on this, we notice that that sentence that we're listening to, the whole thing is highlighted in one color, and then word by word, it's reading the text along the way, and then highlights that particular word in blue. So we can be able to hear everything. When we talked about—
Is that water in there?
I do have water in there.
Let me get some water.
Okay. So when we talked about accessible, or when we talked about UDL, we said that there are 3 different guidelines. This would be an example of representation, right? So we are representing the text in an audio format, as well as changing the color to be able to really signify what sentence we're on, what word we're on as well. So that's a very simple feature of this tool, but we're going to look at a couple other ways that our kids can engage with the text. So just to the right, we have a screenshot tool. So this allows me to highlight, here's a picture, and I could draw a box around that picture, any of the text, and it would be able to read that as well. As I keep going, we have the choice of screen mask. Bye, Carter. When we do screen mask, I'm highlighting and it's—
Dad,
yeah, bud.
lock this door.
Don't lock the door. Yes, sir. Okay. So I'm able to showcase just this one part and allow my students to really be able to focus on that particular section. Okay. As I continue across, a couple other things that I really like, I'm going to skip over to the right where it says simplify page. And this is going to strip out all of the advertisements that might be in there, and it takes me just to my text, but it can do even more than that. In here, I can adjust the color. Some of our students, for their vision, may need high contrast, so they might need blue on yellow or whatever it might be. Change mine back to black on white. And then we can also, in here, be able to simplify the text that we see. So it says simplify, and when I click on this, it adjusts the language for my students so that they can, it adapts it to make the syntax easier for them. Hey, Carter, 1 second. So it will adjust the actual word choice that's being used in here to make it more available for my students, and they can go through and customize it to meet their own needs. Additionally, I can change the font. There's even Open Dyslexic, so if that's something that would meet a particular student's needs, they can do that. And I can also adjust the spacing so that it's more available for me too. When I'm all done with this particular view, I can always hit the X. It takes away some of those options. Or you need help? Okay.
Yeah, I have a snack.
No, I can't get you a snack right now. I just got you an apple a couple minutes ago. So when I come back here—
Hey,
yeah, bud, you're fine. Just go on. Love you, buddy.
love you.
Okay. So some other things that I can do.
I'm going to turn the light on.
I don't need that done. The fan's going. It feels good. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay. So some other things that I can do through here, I can highlight. So I'm going to use this highlight tool and highlight the word countries. And I'm going to highlight the word pockets and families. So in here, I've got 3 words highlighted. When I'm all set, I'm going to come over to this icon here that looks like 3 bulleted 3 items on a bulleted list. When I click on vocabulary, it's doing some magic things in the background. So in just a second, it's going to refresh my page, open up a new tab called Vocabulary List Untitled. So I can go in and adjust that title. And in here, it's made a 4-column vocabulary list for me, where I get the word, I get the meaning of that word, or multiple meanings. I get symbols that represent that word. And then I have a place where my student can do notes. So I love that feature. I think it's amazing. Obviously this works for kids at any reading level. They could be reading for biology or some other complex content and still be able to use that feature. We can make lists for all of our students where they can go in and customize for their own needs and know that all of those are options. Now, some other things that we can do in here, of course, our student, maybe they put it into a sentence and they write it here. We can, before we share this with our students, we could add a new column. So we'll do column right, and maybe I'll do palabra. And so in this column, my student would type in the translated version of that word, and we would be able to set that up so that they could find success. Again, a lot of you just got done with the Google Classroom session. So after I've made my vocabulary list, I can go in there, make a copy for each student, or customize it and differentiate based on their need, whether that means different vocabulary list or maybe adding this translated piece in there as well to really meet my students' unique needs. All right, so let's pause for just a second. What are some features of Read 'em Right that we particularly liked? Would anyone like to unmute and share what stood out to you?
I loved getting rid of the ads, but I forget how you did it.
Okay, let me go back real quick. So it is the simplify option. So it looks like there are 4 lines with an arrow pointing down. When I click on that, it opens up a new tab, but this time without any ads. All right, any other feedback? Cool.
I love the ability to be able to highlight certain vocabulary words for kids. I think that's so important. And then they could also use the context clues to try and figure out some of the meanings of those words as well.
I love that. Definitely taking it to another level. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to head back to our slides and just run through a couple other resources that are linked on here. So please note that on slides 10, 11, and 12, our extension ones, we do have a video for each of those slides that kind of run through an overview of what that tool does. On here, we also have a link on the left where it says Learn More. That if you click on that, it's going to open up in a resource called the Chromebook App Hub. Now, you do not need to have Chromebooks at your school to be able to use the Chromebook App Hub. These are just, it's a collection of different learning tools that work well in our classrooms. And a lot of them tie with Google in some way. So in here, we get an overview of what the tool is. Here's how to get started. Data, policy, and accessibility. So if you are trying to get your district to purchase this product, you might take them to this page and it could help you. Then down below, we have some different lesson ideas that you could potentially use, including student curated vocabulary, which is one that I made a couple years ago for this program. So know that you can go back to this and have those ideas. Now, a quick note about the pricing model for Read 'em Right. The way they do it is it's free for teachers. And if you click where it says premium teacher accounts, again, that is free. You just fill out a short form and you'd get all of those features. And then their pricing model is they charge per student. But it is reasonable if your entire district goes that route. It's a pretty low fee and a great bang for your buck as well. Again, so that's linked right on slide 10. Now, slide 11 is another tool by that same company, TextHelp. And this is called Equatio. And when we did this session the first time, my math teachers were like, what about me? And so I wanted to include this tool. This is a tool that I introduced in Albemarle where I work, and we are now launching it across the entire district. So again, I can really vouch. I'm a big fan of this tool. So, you know, before we were trying to look at how text is represented, and it becomes really challenging to represent our equations in math and be able to have the read aloud option. But Equatio does an amazing job with this. So on my screen right now, I'm showing an algebra test that my school used. And so what I can do using Equatio, I'm going to, should be turned on. Let's see. Okay, so I might need to refresh to make it show up. But it's going to allow me to do read aloud for these complicated math equations. So here's my resource again. There we go. So now we have it back, and I can use my Equatio tool. This looks like a square, kind of rotated a little bit. And I'm going to draw a box around my equation and check out what it can do. It takes a second to recognize because it is doing
1/6 times open paren 30x minus 24y close paren minus 1/8 times open paren 32x minus 16y close paren.
all right, so that
1/6 times.
that did pretty great, right? Like the only thing that is a little different is it says parenth, but this company's from Europe. I don't know if that's a difference in culture, but it nailed it, right? And it didn't matter if I came down here and used some of these cubed root and other symbols, it's able to read that for my students, and we get that accessibility that we desperately need. Now, next to being able to hear it spoken, we can go to more options, and we can copy that math and be able to bring it into a document too. Now, I will admit that in the last 3 weeks, I haven't been in Equatio, and they've added some new features right here. So we can bring in a periodic table if we need to. And it looks like we can also bring in a scientific calculator using Desmos as we're doing screen reading. So really cool that these different features are built into the program for us. Now, the place that I'm going to go next is I'm going to head to a blank, or not blank Google Doc, but I'm heading back to our vocabulary list one, and I'm going to use Equatio in a Google Doc to show how we can represent our ideas too for that expression component of UDL. So again, I will open up Equatio. It's showing up down here. I refreshed before it showed up. Okay, so in just a second, I'll show you how we can create using Equatio as well. So as we said before, this pricing model will be very similar to Read and Write for Google. You will need to purchase accounts for kids, but it is free for the adults at your school. So in here we have an equation editor where I can start doing area of a square, and it will be able to bring in different equations for me, or I can do quadratic formula and then be able to put in my own information here if I want. Some other things I can do, I have a graph editor that I can turn on, and again, that's using Desmos. If your computer screen is touchscreen, you can do handwriting very well on here, and it will be able to capture it. Mine is not touch, but if I do 2x, you'll notice on the right, it is changing it to add it in there too. I can also do spoken, so I get that speech input. I can connect it to my phone and be able to draw things on here. We get a collaborative workspace, and then we get into some STEM tools. And again, these are newly added in here. When I find the equation that I want, when I type it in, I can insert math, and in just a second, it's going to put this math in here as an image, which makes it very easy for me to put onto my website, put into Google Forms if I want to, wherever it needs to go, I can put this there and my kids can do the math that they need to. So again, expression, very, very easy when we use Equatio. All right, and as we saw before, we have that Learn More option that you can go to the Chromebook App Hub. We have a video in here and we have the link here as well. Now, quick final note about Equatio. We are looking at some higher level math work with with the examples I gave. But if instead you needed to, maybe you work with younger kids, if you go to MathSpace, this will allow you to have digital manipulatives. So we can do like number lines, things like that. We can show shaded fractions of shapes, and it becomes a lot more useful for someone like my child's age as a 7-year-old. Okay. So the final extension we're going to look at today is called Screencastify. And this is very simple screen recording. I love to use it for giving feedback. So again, I'm going to head to, I'm going to come back here and we'll go to our vocabulary list document where we've been working. It's this arrow with a video camera up here. And in just a second, I'm going to start a recording where I'm giving feedback to my student. I love Screencastify for multiple reasons, but definitely one of those is I love being able to give feedback to my students. So I'm recording. In just a second, it's going to go live. I'm selecting, I want the screen to be shared. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, so students, you are doing a great job when it comes to your vocabulary list. Please make sure that you fill in the column over here on notes. That is incredibly important. So please add your sample sentences here, comment. This will allow you to have the context as you move forward. Keep up the good work and bring any questions back to class. So, you know, in just a second, I recorded my video, and when it's done, it says copy shareable link. So all I have to do is click here, copy shareable link. And when I come back to my resource, I can make another comment. So vocabulary list, making a comment, and I can drop it in here so that the student, all they have to do to get that video feedback is click this link. It'll open up my video and they can watch it. You might notice that also in Screencastify, we have the option to share to classroom. So I can click this and post it as a resource or material in my class, and all members of my class will be able to see it. So definitely works well with a lot of our Google tools. I also like to use Screencastify for giving instructions about how to do a particular learning activity. So if we were, instead of being in Docs, we were in our slides here, and I wanted to insert a video, I could go insert. I've already recorded my instructions on how to engage with this, this slide deck. I can find video and be able to find it and post it directly in here so that they can listen to me run through my instructions too. It's a very easy way to adapt how we get ideas to our students or how we give them feedback. I want to pause again real quick. So any other thoughts or questions about these extensions? I know we went through them quickly, but any ideas out there? Okay, so we'll keep rolling along. So our next section is going to look at accessibility features that are built directly into some of our most commonly used Google tools. So let's go ahead and click on slide 14. And if you are able to, and you click where it says Docs, this is going to open up a new Google Doc for you. Or you can get there any other way that you'd like to, or that you know how to. But for me, just clicking there, docs.new opens one up for me. Okay, so the three ways that we're going to look at docs right now in terms of accessibility, we're going to look at it in terms of using voice to text. We're going to look at the translation features, and we're also going to look at the Explore tool. So the first one that we're going to take a peek at is for voice to text. And for this, I'm going to go to where it says Tools and come down to where it says Voice Typing. Okay, so about 2/3 of the way down that pop-up menu that happens, we're going to click Voice Typing, and it brings up this icon here on the left-hand side. It looks like a microphone, and when we use this option, we access it by clicking on the microphone and check out what it can do. Okay, so I'm going to make my text a little bit bigger so you guys can read it, and I'm going to go ahead and speak. This summer, my family is really exploring how we can use tools like Minecraft to help my 7-year-old learn, period. He's very intrigued about how it can be used for coding and for storytelling, period. Do you have any ideas of how he can use this for his own learning? Question mark, new paragraph. Voice typing allows us to get ideas that may have been stuck in our head onto the blank doc or blank piece of paper in a way that we previously may have faced a barrier, period. I can turn it off. And now all of a sudden I have this initial thought that's already listed in here. I like to use this as a pre-writing strategy, right? So tell me everything you know about this tool, and we can start to put it in there. And it did a pretty good job. And anytime that we see an underline in here, that means that it's not quite sure if that's what I said. So I know that I need to go back and review that particular piece to make sure that it's written as I need it to. Now, I would not encourage my students to use this as a final copy, but they can definitely use it just to get initial ideas or to capture what questions they have about a topic. Once we have our initial pieces in here, I want to skip over to the, oh, sorry, one last thing about voice to text. You'll notice right above the microphone, there's a little drop down. And in here, we have probably 200 different languages or dialects we can select. By default, mine is United States, but we can see that there are probably 20 different Spanish ones in here. So our students from El Salvador can find that, or from Ecuador, they can find their particular dialect, and we can start to bridge that gap. I'm going to keep mine at English US for now. Now, the next tool that we're going to look at within Docs is hiding here towards the bottom right, and that is the Explore tool. So in here, it kind of looks like a dialog box with a star on it. When we click on it, it pops up and may say you might be interested in this topic. Now, my topic today is Minecraft. And I can click on Minecraft, and it's going to do, that's interesting. Not experienced that before. I'll refresh real quick and maybe it will begin working for me again. This is always fun, right? I'm sure it has never happened to you that the technology you're introducing doesn't quite go the way we want it to. If it continues to not behave the way I expect, then we'll try to find something a little different to showcase. So again, I'm going to type in Minecraft. Okay, no matching results. Interesting. All right, is it working for other folks? Can someone unmute and respond if it is working for you? Okay, so Minecraft is not working, but when I type in UDL, it is working, so we'll roll with that. So in here, I get all of my Google results that I could possibly want. Now, one benefit is I'm not bouncing between different tabs. I know for a lot of us, when we start to use a browser, the space at the top will fill up pretty quickly. And for our kiddos, especially those who might have attention barriers, this is a very helpful resource. So in here, we can see a quick overview of what that website would be. I can click on it, it'll take me there. And once I find the text that I'm going to use as a possible reference, I can come back. I'm going to paste it, and I don't need to get too worried about copying and pasting, because look how great this is. So when I hover over one of these results, I get this quotation button, or the ability to cite as a footnote. So when I click on that, it drops in a citation for me automatically. And not only that, but if I click on the 3 dots next to web results, I can select what format I want, MLA, APA, or Chicago, so my kids can really find exactly what it is that they need for my particular discipline. Makes it very easy. We also have the option to do a search for images. And with this, when I find the one I want, I can click the plus sign and it drops it into my document. The reason I like to show this way of adding an image, and there are multiple ways, a lot of you probably know other ways, is that when I click on it, an image this way, it will also come up with, here's the location where it came from. So it does automatically link it for me, whereas if I do it one of the other options, it would not do that for me. The final piece of Explore is we can go to Drive, and it's going to come up with any Drive file where I have the combination UDL in there. So for me, this is really helpful as a learner if I'm trying to find maybe a resource that my teacher gave me, and then also my final draft of that assignment. I can use this search and be able to find my resources very quickly. So again, that's the Explore tool. It's going to show up in slides, in sheets, and in docs, and it's very helpful to superpower, or adds a superpower to our docs. The final accessibility feature that we're going to look at in docs is going back to tools, and this time coming down to translate document. When I select this, it allows me to choose a language. Again, I have many, many options in here. Again, probably around 150, and I can find the one I want. So I'm going to do Portuguese and then translate, and it opens up a new tab for me, translated copy of that document, and the entire document has been translated for me. Very, very simple. Now, a quick caveat, right? So this is being translated by Google Translate. It may not be perfect, but I find confidence that at least I'm trying to bridge that gap for our learners and families. The school that I support has over 50 native languages spoken. And so to be able to have an expert on each of those languages may not really be feasible, but we're able to meet at least some level of needs by leveraging this type of tool. All right, so those are some of my favorite accessibility features that are built directly into Google Docs. At this point, we're going to transition back to our slides and be able to look at some of the features built into that tool. Okay, so in slides, a few things that I really love. If we go to present mode as a teacher, check out what we can do. Okay, so I'm in present mode. At the bottom, I'm given this suite of tools that I can use, including, where'd you go? Okay, including the ability to do captions. Captions in slides is so easy. We're able to speak, and it puts it out there for our students without us making any effort. A really cool piece of this is, even if the teacher doesn't have it turned on, if the student has the slides pulled up and turns on captioning, they can see it without having any interference with other learners. Now, to me, this is really a case of UDL. It doesn't hurt anybody to be able to see this. It just adds to their ability to access the content and represent the content in a unique way. So again, that's closed captioning. Now, to kind of app smash two of the different tools that we're looking at, they might be able to also turn on the screen recording software and be able to record as you present to be able to get the captioning down at the bottom and really supercharge what you're doing. The next feature of slides that we're going to look at will be the Q&A part. So when we have this turned on, close to where the caption button was, we go to Q&A. And with this, it's going to open up a new window for me as the presenter. And we see it hiding back here. And so my students can put questions out to me without having to raise their hand and ask questions. And so this might make it safer for some students. And so we can start new. Our learners can go to this link and drop in questions that I can then field and make sure that we answer for everybody. And really, this is an equity question where everybody gets that ability to ask questions and have voice, even if they might have some other barriers out there. And the final thing that we can do, and I've already touched on this a little bit, is we can add different types of media to our slides. And we saw very quickly how to do a video in there. I'm gonna go slower this time. I go up to Insert, and I can come down to Video. And again, I can come through, find recent videos, maybe find that screencast version that I did and be able to put this in here. I'm gonna look up Screencastify. No, nothing there. Okay, so in here, if I go to recent, I think I have a recent one of those videos. My drive is moving a little slowly right now, but anyway, I can find it, select, and be able to put in that video of me giving directions to my students. And this is a video that I'd made last week for a group of educators I'm working with on using Google Tools. So I really am modeling and using these practices. Notice on the right-hand side, I can say start or stop at certain points. I can have it where it auto plays when I'm presenting, lots of different choices. I can also come up to Insert and add audio. So I know a lot of teachers use this not just for giving directions, but they might do it for a read aloud where you're telling a narrative to your students. So I'm going to select, and in here I have my audio file, and my students could play that audio file and listen to my directions, or maybe I have it translated for someone and they can listen to it that way. And again, we have choices over here about how they're engaging with the audio. What volume will it be? Does it loop? Does it continue on to the next slide, and things like that? Very, very simple to add that type of content and make it available for our kiddos. All right, so the final piece that we're gonna look at in terms of Google's suite of tools is YouTube. And I love YouTube. I think it's, I have a presentation called YouTube, the best learning tool of all time. And I really believe that. I think it's such a fantastic tool. I know that if I don't know how to do something, I go to YouTube to try to figure it out. And I'm sure a lot of you do that as well. So in here, I'm going to youtube.com. And there are a couple ways that I love to use YouTube. So in here, I will find a video. I'll do cell membranes. Okay, block those notifications. So now when I'm in here, I get all my results, right? But I want to really filter and make sure I find exactly what it is I'm looking for. So one of my favorite things to do to make this easy in YouTube and not get overwhelmed is go to where it says filter. And in here, some things that I can do, I can say I want it to be recent. I want it to be in this past year, this month. And that's particularly helpful if you're looking at like a current event thing. You can really filter to get the most immediate information. I'm going to say this year. I'm going to keep filtering, and I want it to be a short video. My students don't need to see something that's over 20 minutes. So in here, I wanted it to be fewer than 4 minutes. And I could keep filtering for is it popular, Creative Commons, so I might be able to download it, things like that. All right, so in here, I have these options, membrane, carbohydrates. I can click on it, and I get my video.
This video.
Great, so that's very easy to go through and filter to find exactly what it is that I would want to use. I can never say this enough. Please watch the entire video to make sure it is appropriate for your kiddos. Now, something else that I like, another accessibility feature in this, I can turn on closed captioning. So I'm clicking the CC, and every video in YouTube is closed caption. It won't let me go ahead and play.
Is going to be about membrane carbohydrates. So the two kinds of carbohydrates.
We can see that it is playing. It's giving me that closed captioning. The creator of this, Baylor Tutoring Center, did not have to turn that on. It is just automatically built into the platform. We can also go over to the settings gear. And in here, we can choose the playback speed. So maybe I need it to go slower, or I can go to where the subtitles here, and I can say I want it to auto translate. So I'm going to auto translate, and this time come over to, I want it to be in Finnish. And now it is going to translate.
In our membranes that we need to know about are glycoproteins and glycolipids.
They can go through and watch it and be able to get the content that they need. Now keep in mind, it won't translate any text that's on the screen, but it will translate what is spoken. The final thing that I like to showcase when it comes to YouTube is the ability to save a video and make a playlist. It looks like this one might be turned off to be able to do that, but if we come over to cell membranes, we'll try it with this one as well.
You're online.
Here's my short video, and I can hit save and be able to make a playlist. All right, so those are my very simple ways that I love to use YouTube, from doing closed captioning, doing translations, and then filtering as well. We have just a little bit of time left, so I want to just run through Flipgrid. There will be more sessions that cover Flipgrid on Wednesday, so if you stick around throughout this week, you can definitely check it out in more depth then. But I'm going to show this short video. We may not get a hands-on time with Flipgrid right now, but this is looking at some accessibility features of Flipgrid. So let me get this optimized for video, and we'll go ahead and play.
Provide inclusion for my deaf students.
I have a voice. I have a voice. I have a voice.
We designed Flipgrid.
Okay, so as we mentioned, Flipgrid is an amazing tool. If you haven't used it yet, they are consistently building in additional features and their goal is to give every student a voice. So definitely built with amplifying students and being able to really work on that. How are they expressing their ideas? But with this, a teacher would give a prompt to students, and then students can record video responses, and they can do it in a variety of ways. So it could be using the webcam and explaining that way. It could be doing a screen capture video, or they can just use their voice. So lots of ways that they can represent their ideas. Teachers can give video-based feedback to the students. All videos that are in there can be closed captioned and are done so automatically. And then it also builds in a tool called Immersive Reader, which is, it's going to take any text that's on the page or any spoken word, and it will allow you to translate it. It will allow you to break it down for parts of speech, or to make it more accessible font type. So lots of ways that they're really trying to build in accessibility. Microsoft overall in the last couple of years, and Flipgrid is a Microsoft product, they have really made an effort to improve all of the accessibility features throughout their tools. And you can go to that link that you see on our slides to learn more about accessibility in Flipgrid. And as I mentioned before, Wednesday, we do have a couple sessions that will include Flipgrid, so you can join those. We do have space available that you can go and learn then too. All right, so Flipgrid, can't sing the praises enough. Some other ways that we can really meet our students' needs. Our learners, many of them are their ability to read text in a visual format and a non-written format is amazing. So by using images, by using GIFs, things like that into our classrooms, we can really meet their needs. And a few different ways that we can do that. Our kiddos love memes, right? So we can go to a tool like Meme Generator and be able to take those commonly used memes and adjust them to meet the content that we're trying to convey, or to just meet the social or community aspects we want to include in our classroom. We can use tools like a GIF or a GIF, if, you know, whatever team you're on for that, and we can bring them in to encourage our students, to give them feedback. We can let our students tell their stories by using these visual means. We can use emojis. We know our students are actively doing that all the time. Emojis are built into Google Classroom. If you do a right click when you're building an assignment, it comes up with emojis as an option. Emojis are built into Flipgrid as well. And I know a lot of teachers also use Bitmojis, so you can use those as well, both to represent some of your personality as well as offer them feedback or encouragement along the way. So at this point, we are moving into this wrap-up phase. You will have a chance to provide, if you have any questions, you will have time to ask those, and I'll provide whatever feedback or guidance I can. If you have questions, you can also, in the future, find me on social media. I saw a few people were following me during the session. You can also email me, adamseipel@gmail.com. I do want to give thanks to John and Eric for being amazing moderators in both of our sessions today. Thank you guys for the feedback as we've been building these sessions. Thank you to Vascal, Pam, and Liza for putting these sessions on for free for Virginia educators. I love this. We've been able to serve over 4,000 teachers over the last few months, and that we can make it completely free. Thank you for your generosity with that. And finally, thank you guys. So this last slide, if you could, please give me some feedback. If you're looking at your own copy of the slides, you can click on slide 23, and that will take you to our feedback form. Otherwise, please head to bit.ly/3E76XNX. One of our moderators is going to drop that into the chat too. On that page, be honest with your feedback. At the very bottom, it also asks you, would you like to receive a certificate for renewal credit? If you do, it'll take you to another page. Make sure that your name and your email address are spelled correctly. Otherwise, you may not receive the feedback or the renewal form. So please make sure you do that correctly. At this point, if you'd like, after you've given feedback, you can head out, or if you have questions, I invite you to stick around. Thank you all for joining me today. And again, if you have questions, stick around. Thank you guys for being here.
Hey, Adam, I have a question about inserting audio in a Google slide.
Okay.
I saw how to do it. Where do you pre-record so that you can save it in your drive and then insert it?
Okay. So what computer are you using?
I have Windows.
Windows. Okay. So I think that, and John or Eric, you can chime in too. I'm pretty sure that there is like a note-taking or audio recording tool built into Windows that you can use and then export that file. So that's one option. Other teachers may use a note-taking or a similar thing on their phone and then upload it to Google Drive using the Drive app. So those are a couple options. John or Eric, do you have suggestions out there?
Yeah, Adam. So I've used on a Windows computer a voice recorder. It's an app that's already on the computer. Just